Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Talking Shit with Jim. Don't know if anybody is in the chat yet, but I want to welcome all of you to the first episode here on Jim's Movie Channel, and what I am hoping is going to be a long series of live streams. And I want to welcome my very special first guest, Carlos from the UK at Eastwood for Life fan. He has been one of the biggest supporters of my channel, more or less from the get-go. And I am truly honored to have him on my very first episode of Talking Shit with Jim. So, Carlos, welcome, my friend. Welcome to the USA, my friend.
I'm going global, worldwide, and yeah, why not? I mean, we are shooting the shit. Absolute pleasure. I mean, I've got to know you a lot, mainly in the last 9 months when I kind of came across your channel. And it's funny because when your channel came up, the thumbnails, it reminded me of one of my closest friends on YouTube, a guy by the name of Donny, Cinemaniac77. So I thought, I'd tap onto this thumbnail, and I was hooked on your movie knowledge and your movie stories. And like I've always said, you've got a great voice for YouTube. So yeah, followed you since.
Thank you so much. Yeah. You were one of my first subscribers, and the thing that really stood out for me with you was most people, when they drop comments, it's usually, hey, nice video, or I really like that movie, or whatever. You would always leave these really long, detailed comments, and it was like, wow, this guy is actually watching my actual video as opposed to just tapping along. Okay.
Yeah.
And not only that, he seems interested in what I have to say, but he also seems to have similar interests.
Yeah.
And the more that we started talking in comments, and then eventually through other social media, our friendship grew and such. You sent me that box of Westerns for my birthday. I'm still over the moon about that. I mean, that was just such a wonderful gift. I still haven't watched all of them. I finally watched Django the other night. That movie is so good. It is phenomenal. The Raquel Welch one is next. Henny Coulter or whatever. I'm definitely going to be watching that very shortly. But yeah, Django was awesome. I absolutely love that movie. My mom's already watched it like 2 or 3 times.
Oh, so, really? Wow.
Yeah. She's watched all those movies quite a few times. She watches more movies than I do, quite honestly. But again, I just wanted to thank you so much for that gift. That was wonderful. Before we get in the comments here, or before we start discussing our business here, let's just check the comments here and see who we got in the house. We got your partner in crime, Dan, from Dan's Movie Cave. Don't know if he's still here, but I love the comment. We've got Ricky from Action Thriller Books and Movies, and also the Golden Age of Hard Rock. Ricky, thank you so much for being here. Ricky. We've got Anthony from Anthony Chobot Does Pop Culture and Opening. Jim, how are you? Anthony, thank you for being here. Yes. We've got Barry from the UK. Hey, Barry, how's it going, buddy? Posted a couple of wigs for the pair of you. Bald men or Beryl? Bald men or Beryl, buddy? I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And we have Sarah. Hello, Sarah. How are you? I miss Cinephile Santa. Yeah, he's taking a break. He will be back soon. He's talking about one of our mutual friends. We've got Mike from Mike's DVD and Blu-ray.
Hi there, Mike.
Thank you so much for being here, Mike. We got one of my partners from crime, Sean, over at Movie Assault, that I do talking movies with Sean, Kenny, and Jim. Hello, Sean. Thank you for being here. Yes, Ricky, time to talk some shit. Absolutely. That's all I do, according to some people. And we have Roy from Blue Roy Movies over in the UK as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi there, Roy.
Good to have you on one of these streams very soon as well, my friend. And also, Sarah just subscribed to Carlos, so thank you very much, Sarah. And
cheers, Sarah.
Anybody in the chat who has not already done so, please do. Carlos has got a great channel. As a matter of fact, we're going to get into that right now. So, Carlos, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your channel, when you started, what got you to start, the whole 9 yards. The floor is yours.
I'd always watched YouTube, and there was always 2 or 3 channels that I watched, and I thought, you know what, I think I could do that. And there were several channels that got me watching, and I thought, you know what, I think I feel confident that I can talk about movies. I've come from a generation where I watched movies at the cinema, the video store days. So I've kind of been a movie fan quite early on, and I'd already started collecting movies from VHS to DVD, and it was just starting to go to Blu-ray. And at first, it was just going to be talking about, you know, the guys that I used to love watching: Eastwood, Bronson, McQueen, you know, all the tough guy actors, action movies, westerns. But at the same time, you know, when people jump onto my channel, they might initially think that I'm just kind of into the kind of action movies, tough guys and westerns. But as a whole, I love watching all movies, whether they're horror movies, dramas, or comedies. You know, it's just not kind of a one-trick pony. I mean, again, you know, also doing the live streams with Dan's Movie Cave, Dan, and 101 Bronson Jeff, where we do kind of subject on our live streams, whether it's directors, movie franchises, or actors, and also the Westerns for Life podcast, where we have our episodes of reviewing westerns. So it's a kind of broad horizon of movie genres and subjects that I try to cover.
Yeah, your guys' live streams are fantastic.
Oh, cheers.
You know, really, they're really well put together. The interplay that the three of you have together, along with the people in the chat or guests, you know, it's always very entertaining. Even when I don't agree exactly with what you're saying, Blazing Saddles. But
I knew that would come up.
and don't worry, you know, if Dan or Jeff are watching, when you guys get on here, I'm going to grill you about that much harder than I will about Carlos, because I've already talked to him about this.
Yeah,
but that's neither here nor there. But no, the shows you guys do they're phenomenal. They are always really, really entertaining. Okay, so you started doing this. Your channel's been growing, obviously, you know, and we already know, you know, from the title of your channel, you know, you're a big Eastwood fan, you know, and such. But you already mentioned, you know, that you like films from all genres and such, you know, that's great. That means that you're a film lover, not just you know, I hate people that say, I don't like foreign movies, or I don't like musicals or documentaries. And it's like, you're painting everything with a very broad brush, you know. I mean, I'm not a musical guy, but there are musicals I love. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
What are your what would be like some of your favorite actors, other than like those tough guy actors? You know, I mean, past or present. You know, somebody that if they have a movie coming out or a movie that you haven't seen from them, you're like immediately interested, regardless of it, you know, what the genre may be.
What today? You'd say the actors of today?
Yeah, today, or maybe, you know, an actor that you admire from the past that, you know, there's a movie that you always wanted to see from them, but you never have, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, today, the actor that I enjoy watching all the time is Denzel Washington, because the guy can do so much. He can be a villain, he can be a tough guy, he can be the hero, he can play more of a sensitive character. He's comedies, action movies, drama pieces. The guy's phenomenal. From the past, I've kind of got more into James Cagney movies. I mean, it's very easy for sort of modern day movie fans, especially now, to sort of look at movies in the 60s and 70s and think, oh, I don't want to go there. I've been brought up in the CGI era. I just want to watch Marvel, special effects, and all that. And for me, as a movie fan, the majority of my movies that I watched as a teenager were kind of 1960s onwards, because I got brought up on the Dollar Trilogy movies. So for me, every movie started from the 1960s, whether they're a Bond movie, the Carry On movies, it started from there. But in the last 10 years, I've kind of gone back a little bit more to the 50s and the 40s and the 30s. There's more Humphrey Bogart movies and James Cagney movies that I need to watch. So early last year, while I was off with a shoulder operation, I was kind of concentrating, watching more of the James Cagney movies, and I fell into a bracket that I thought, damn, I've missed a whole lot of movies from him, not just the gangster movies that he's been.
Oh yeah,
and phenomenal actor. I
absolutely.
mean, obviously, I knew who he was, but not just him. It's him, Humphrey Bogart, other actors like Glenn Ford. That when I was a teenager, Glenn Ford and Richard Widmark, those kind of actors, I would kind of, I'd seen them in the odd one or two movies, but never really concentrated on some of their movies from their sort of built career. So I've really enjoyed a hell of a lot watching James Cagney, and I think for modern day movie fans, don't just kind of bypass the black and white era, because
Absolutely.
there are some classics. I mean, I already loved the Lauren Hardy movies, but that was as far back as I went. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much. There's so much movies to watch. I mean, I tend to go backwards rather than forwards, which you might say I'm a bit of an old school, but look at the ideas that we had years and years ago, and
right.
when you see the shit that's coming out nowadays.
Absolutely. We talked about this on the last live chat I did. Everything is either a sequel, a remake, or based on an IP now. Whereas back in the day, whether you liked it or not, there was so much more variety and so much originality in Hollywood. Whereas now it's just, let's make a buck, and unfortunately, I think that cinema by and large is suffering because of it. I mean, they keep talking about how the theatrical grosses aren't matching what they were before the pandemic. It's like, adjusted for inflation, they're not matching anything from the last 20 years, because the last 20 years has been nothing but that shit that you're talking about. I'm a Marvel fan, but I am totally burned out on Marvel. You know what I mean? I mean, I just am. There's a new Superman movie coming out this summer, and if James Gunn wasn't involved, I could care less than a shit about it. But because he's involved, it's like, okay, I'll give it a benefit of the doubt. But I got an Instagram post just the other day with all the movies, the major movies that are scheduled to be released in 2025. And we're talking maybe 50, 60 movies. And I swear to God, 3/4 of them were sequels, remakes, or reboots. And I'm just looking at this thing going, what the hell, man? I mean, there was nothing that just jumped out that I was like, wow, that looks intriguing. I want to see that, Ugh. Okay, I'm done ranting for the moment. Let's get back to a couple of comments before I started asking some more questions. See, my journalism skills are starting to come back a little bit. All right, we've got Kevin Hawthorne. Good afternoon from Lakeland, Florida. I did my 4th news interview Thursday at the Citrus Connection bus terminal in Lakeland. I will be on Channel 10. This year is my 21st year working. Hey, great, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, for tuning in.
I know I missed a couple, so let me just bear with me for a moment here. Oh, we've got Kenny, my other partner in crime from the Talking Movies with Sean and Kenny.
Hi there, Kenny.
And let's see here. Roy says it'd be a pleasure. No, the pleasure would be mine, Roy. Trust me. I'm a big admirer of your channel. Ricky subbed to you last night. Thank you, Ricky.
Cheers, Ricky.
Okay, we just did that one. We've got Elias Locke here. Disney is set to announce AI visual effects for pre and post production. Many jobs gone. Many movies will be cheaper and faster to make. Yeah, cheaper and faster doesn't necessarily mean better. And yeah, we'll get into that at a later date, because I don't like this AI bullshit at all. Didn't anybody ever see The Terminator? I swear to God. We were told we'd be replaced by May. Yeah, sounds about right. Ricky, he saw a lot of great rock concerts at the Civic Center back in the early. Of course, Ricky did. That's the golden age of hard rock guy right there. So I'm going to have him on there. We're going to be talking music and all kinds of stuff. Everyone loves Blazing Saddles, surely. Well, Roy, let me point you in the direction of the Westerns for Life podcast with Carlos and his 2 friends when they covered that. Not everybody loves it. And it looks like, okay, did you freeze up? There you go. All right. Groove and Gary. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Lloyd Kaufman movies are my favorite movies. Lloyd Kaufman movies are definitely movies. I'll give you that. No, I love those old movies. And of course, Kenny cannot go 30 minutes without making a Dirty Dancing joke. And here comes the Dirty Dancing jokes. Barry, I don't like musicals
movie as
on
well.
film. I'm sorry, Carlos. I didn't hear you.
I don't like that movie either, Dirty Dancing.
Oh God,
I don't like that movie as well. We've got something in common there.
God, I hate that movie so much. Yeah, you just had to. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Groovy. Can't watch any movies from the last 20 years. They are all the same and too much bad language and too woke. Okay, the bad language, I don't know about that. That also kind of goes against the woke thing, but I get where you're coming from. The movies are definitely different than they used to be, no doubt about it. Oh, my good friend Daniel is here. Hello, my friend. Thank you for joining.
Yeah.
Roy says, too many sequels and reboots these days. Absolutely. I need to go back and rewatch lots of older films that I've forgotten about. That's the great thing about this community. I'll do these little videos and somebody will say, hey, did you ever see such and such? Or I'll go on your channel and hear about a spaghetti western I've never heard of. Or I'll go on Roy's channel and he'll talk about an old British movie from the 50s that I've never heard of but sound intriguing. And yeah, this has been great as far as that goes. You know, I love it. And we've got Patrick here. We'll hear from the dancing and yeah. I've been watching 50s juvenile delinquent movies and 60s biker movies the last few weeks. Some of those movies are hilarious, man. As a matter of fact, my wife was watching a video right before I left, and I think it was called Nancy Becomes a Woman, and it was like a film that they would show in schools in the 50s, and it was about a girl's first period. I was like, I'm out, and I just left right away.
Am I breaking up?
Yeah, you're freezing up a little bit. Okay, there you go. Cagney and Edward G. Robinson are my all-time favorite actors. Yeah, both of them were awesome actors.
I might have to come out.
Yeah, if you need to drop out and drop back in, I'll get you back in. Because yeah, you're definitely froze. Sean from Movie Assault, focus groups make movies now. Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully Carlos will be able to straighten out his stream here, and you guys won't have to deal with me all day. Carlos, did you guys? Okay, we'll come back to your question, Kenny, since Carlos is frozen right now. As soon as he pops back in, I'll go right to your question, bud. Daniel, a lot of it is the lack of quality writers hired by the bigger studios. Yeah, and again, like what Sean was saying, focus groups, writers now, it's by committee. Here we go. Okay, there you are.
Should be a bit better now.
Yeah, Dan needs to pay that guy more than $1,500, I guess. Kenny had a question for you. Carlos, did you guys in the UK have Bogart films and Bowery Boys and Blondie movies on the TV growing up? You know, the old black and white.
Dirk Bogart, I hadn't seen many of his movies. Yeah, again, he's one of those actors in that type of era that I didn't really watch a lot of his movies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if there's actually a genre of movies that I really didn't get into, was the noir movies. I didn't quite get into them because they were like really nicely presented. They were like really smoothly cut. Everybody looked pristine. You know, I like my movies a little bit dirty.
Yeah.
So I never really quite got into those noir movies. I know Mike's DVD and Blu-ray collection, he's a big fan of noir.
Yeah, he loves noir. I like modern noir.
And also, yeah, I don't mind the modern day noir. Yeah, that's a bit more eye-catching. But those black and white ones, I mean, in them days, you can see the suits. They look like they got the way they were cut. It's just like
tailored.
Everything was just sharp.
Yeah, and the women always had that, you know, perfect hair and
it was
Barbara
just too clean cut
Stanwyck
for me.
Veronica Lake and beautiful women though. Okay, let's get back to some more comments here real quick. Daniel, a lot of his lack of quality writers yeah, again,
Mhm.
and it's by committee. The Rock is the worst actor on the planet. I don't know if he's the worst, but
Nah,
he's more of a personality than an actor. I mean,
more so now. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, did you ever see Be Cool, which was the
No.
sequel to Get Shorty?
I've seen Get Shorty. I've never seen Be Cool. To be honest, The Rock's made so many movies now. I think it kind of dampens a lot of the movies that he does because it looks like he takes on every role. He's like he's doing 5 or 6 movies a year, and I think it's a little bit too much. And I think they're too sort of family orientated. I mean, I love the movie that he did Faster, which was a little
Yeah,
bit more hard edged.
yeah,
And
that's a good movie.
I don't know whether we'll get a bit more of that when he gets a little bit more older and he's not got that family orientated box office pull. But you know, they're either sort of these adventure movies, these superhero movies. It's just constant,
Yeah,
and I don't think a lot of his movies they're making money, but not as much as they were when he just finished his wrestling career.
right. Yeah, the reason why I brought up Be Cool was because that was like one of his very first acting roles. I mean, it was
Oh,
before
okay.
he was still a wrestler at the time.
Oh,
And
okay.
he's got a very small part, but he plays, you know, a tough guy. He's like a bodyguard for one of the bad guys, but he's a gay wannabe singer, and he wants to be like a country singer. And it's
Damn.
funny as hell watching him do this video where he's got this little cowboy hat with these little chaps, and it's The Rock singing with this big ass grin on his face, and it's hysterically funny. And it's like, when I saw that performance, I was like, wow, this guy, he's willing to go there. You know, he's willing to go, you know, anything for a laugh type thing. And I haven't seen a movie like that since from him that I felt that way. I mean, I've liked some of his movies, but, you know, I don't watch any of those Fast and Furious movies, to be honest.
No, I don't bother with that. No.
I saw the very first one, and I was good. I was like, you know what, this movie's a piece of shit. And
I'm the same. I'm the same.
I've seen bits and pieces of the other ones, but I've never actually watched another one of those movies.
Yeah.
And every time I watch the trailer for a new one, I'm like, they just get more and more ridiculous.
When you get a car spinning in midair and they're driving the car and they're shooting guns out the window, I'm like, this is just gone.
One they had a car in space or some shit. I mean, it was
really?
like literally dropped out of a rocket or some shit. I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch it, but it was like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. I'm all for dumb movies, okay?
Yeah.
I've got plenty of them on my shelf, but I mean, there's only so much.
Yeah. That's stretching the imagination a little.
Okay, let's see what else we got here real quick before we go on to our next topic, because I've got some topics for you. Barry says, Barry says, films have no imagination, no heart, just CGI, superhero. Yep.
They don't take chances like they used to. I mean, like the Asian movies, the Korean movies, they take major, you know, chances with how the story's going to end. I mean, I'm not going to say I've seen lots and lots of Korean movies, but the Korean movies that I've watched, when I'm actually watching a Korean movie, honestly, by the halfway point, I'm like, shit, how is this film going to end?
Yeah.
When you get a Hollywood movie, you've seen a third of the movie or a quarter of the movie, you already know what's going to happen, who's going to do what. You already know the outcome before you're even at the halfway point. So I think Hollywood needs to kind of, let's get risky. Let's do something a bit new and unique. Something like The Substance, which, you know, it's a bizarre one. It's really out there. All right, the ending, it kind of went a little bit too crazy, but that was unique in itself. That really, really was. I enjoyed that. And Hollywood
I
needs
still
to
haven't seen that.
I
want to see that so bad. I pre-ordered it on Amazon. It's coming out on the 21st. And as a blind buy, I knew I was going to like it because everybody I know, yourself included, the way that everybody has talked about that movie, I know it's up my alley. It sounds like a Cronenberg movie. You know, like a Cronenberg movie that he didn't direct. And then I love David Cronenberg. So, yeah, I'm down for that. Real quickly here, Roy says, Kenny, I'm from the UK. I grew up watching old classics on TV. Studios don't seem to, like I said, it all comes down to the writers at the end of the day. Mike says, amen, Jim. I'm burned out on comic books myself, but I will see Superman because of James Gunn. Yeah, James Gunn, again, you know, whether you like the Marvel movies or not, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, all three of them are extremely well made. And he wrote the script for the best remake of the last 30 years, and that's from Dawn of the Dead. I mean, I absolutely love that remake, and I hate remakes. But that script in that movie is brilliant. And yeah, James Gunn, I'll watch anything James Gunn does. Movie studios are too worried about making sure. Well, that's just it, Gary. And we touched that earlier on an earlier cast. It's not a woke thing to me. It's a money thing. Hollywood is all about making money, and they want to get to the biggest possible audience. So therefore, they play everything safe and regurgitate the same shit over and over and over. And it's just, that's fine for the general audiences, I guess, but for people that really enjoy movies and enjoy having discussions about movies, and I mean, there's still some, like you were talking about, the substance. Okay, I've heard more people talk about that movie than I've heard talk about anything in the last couple of years because it's so out there, you know. But unfortunately, it didn't make any money. It didn't get a big release. I mean, Demi Moore might not even, she just won a Golden Globe, and there's a lot of fire for her to get the no pun intended for you people in California, I'm sorry, but the heat is really on for her to get an Oscar nom. And it's like, it'd probably be a shoe-in if it wasn't a horror film, because Toni Collette in Hereditary, to me, was one of the best performances I've ever seen in my life, and she wasn't even nominated. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was they generally don't like horror unless it's elevated horror, like Silence of the Lambs. You know? Yeah. Okay, let's see what else we got here. The Rock is awful. I'm also tired of deconstructing characters for no real purpose. Yep. Jim is on a soapbox. Preach it, brother. Oh, you have no idea when I get going. Red One was very disappointing. I did not see Red One. I had no desire to see that at all. 80s were the best time to grow up. People that grew up in the 80s think that, and you know, I'm one of them. People that grew up in the 90s think that, I mean, it's when you grew up is the best. My parents would still say that the 50s were the best time, you know, so I get it. Badges, we don't need no sticking badges. Okay, Ricky says, hey, boys, what's the last movie that you saw in a theater? Okay, what's the last movie you saw in a theater, Carlos?
It would have been Gladiator 2, but it moved out my local cinema. But I am going to be watching Nosferatu tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Last year, I've tried to watch more movies than ever before. I mean, for the last 10 years, it's been kind of like 2 to 5 movies a year. Yeah. But I'm trying to go a whole lot more. I mean, last year I watched The Substance, Oppenheimer, double figures, and now my mind's just having a brain fart. I mean, I've seen a lot more. My mind's gone completely bloody blank.
No, it's easy for me. I only saw 2 movies theatrically last year.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Only 2. I took my grandson to see Kong versus Godzilla, the New World, whatever the hell it's called, which was fine. I took him. I went to see that for him, you know. And then my sister took me to see Deadpool and Wolverine for my birthday. And that movie was actually a blast. I was bitching about superhero movies earlier, but that movie's a lot of fun. It really is. I know the fanboys were kind of bitching about it, but, you know, fanboys bitch about everything.
I did watch The Iron Claw as well, and the Salem's Lot remake, which I thought was better.
Yeah, me and you are the only 2 people on the planet who didn't hate that movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, maybe it was the fact that I went into that with low expectations.
Me too.
Thinking this movie's going to totally suck. but
Yep.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. That's exactly how I feel. I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. And I even said that in my review. You know, it's like, if you're trying to compare it to the original miniseries from the 70s with James Mason and David Soul, it doesn't hold a candle. I mean, you know, but to me, like I said, they're different animals completely. And as far as reimaginings go, I wish that, to me, when I was watching that movie, I felt like the editor got a hold of it and chopped about a half an hour to 45 minutes out of it.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to keep it to like a 2-hour movie. And I think that if they, and the director even said that they filmed quite a bit more scenes that weren't included. And it was like, you know what? I think if they would have fleshed out the story a little more with some of these characters, it would have played better, you know?
Yeah.
But because of the short attention spans that people seem to have these days, everything, it's weird. Everything is either 90 minutes or 3 hours long. There's no in between.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard about that. There's an extended version. I mean, I'm waiting for that. If we'll ever get a physical media release, will they put like the extended version? Because I'd like to see it. I mean,
I would too.
I haven't got a problem if the movie's 2-3 hours. If it's good, I want more of it.
Yeah.
So why not?
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. To me, a movie is as long as it has to be. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, there are movies that you're watching them, you know, they're 2.5, 3 hours long, and they might be good, but you're like, my God, let's get on.
Yeah.
John Wick 4, to me, is one of those movies. Okay. It's a great movie. It's a great action movie, but my God, the thing is 2 hours and 40 minutes, and watching that theatrically,
that's too long.
It was like an endurance test after a while.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it really was. And when I watched it on video or DVD or Blu-ray rather, I enjoyed it much more. But when I watched it theatrically, I walked out of there and I felt like I had been in a damn war, because it was just, you know, it just kept going and going and going. Yeah. And after a while, I was like, okay, I don't give a shit how good those Kevlar suits are, man. You get hit by that many cars and drop out of that many windows and fall down that many stairs. At the very least, you're going to have some broken bones, you know? So, okay.
I mean, I do think, Jim, certain movies from genres require a longer sort of running time, like a comedy. I mean, you'd never expect a comedy movie to be over 2 hours.
No, very rarely.
I mean, a Western, I like Westerns to be 2 hours plus. Gangster movies, 2 hours plus, when you're going to have so many different characters. So there's kind of two examples where a running time would suit. I mean, horror movies, you know, I mean, Terrifier 2 doesn't really need to be 2.5 hours. Hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours max.
I still haven't seen any of those Terrifier.
Yeah, I mean, how many more bodies do you need to see get chopped up?
I saw clips from those movies and I was like, okay, I kind of get what this is, but is this all it is? I mean, because, you know, it seems to be that's really all it is how many times you can watch somebody getting dismembered, you know, and it's like, okay, whatever. I mean, nothing against that. I love gore. You know, it's not a gore thing, but it's like, you know, eventually I'll get around to watching those movies, you know, but I still haven't. I think I'm the only horror fan that hasn't seen them yet, you know. Sammy's here.
Jim, I do say one movie that really took me by surprise, which was nice to see, was Thanksgiving.
Another one I haven't seen yet.
I like the idea and the concept behind that. We've got a new character. So like fresh ideas for horror movies. For me personally, we don't need to see another Halloween Nightmare on Elm Street movie, because it's been done to death. They've gone to the well too often. Let's get some fresh ideas. You know, I mean, Thanksgiving Hellfest is another one, a really cool concept in that, which the way that ended, it kind of would sort of make two or three movies.
Yeah, I agree. But anyways, Sammy's here. Says hello, Jim and Carlos. Hope you're having a great weekend.
Hi there, Sammy.
Unforgiven tonight. Yeah, Unforgiven is amazing. You'll love it. I watched Tightrope the other day and thought it was excellent. Tightrope is one of the outliers on Clint Eastwood's filmography, in my opinion. It is not your typical Clint Eastwood movie. I saw that movie with my parents Theatrical. You want to talk about an uncomfortable movie to watch with your parents?
Yeah. I mean, it's a dirty, sleazy movie.
He's pretty kinky in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, see, I like that when actors try something a bit different.
Yeah.
And Eastwood did in that movie. I mean, I don't want to see the same. I don't want to see the same sort of movies, like I say, with characters. So, you know, full respect to Clint Eastwood for doing something completely away from his tough guy sort of persona.
Yeah, they averaged, because again, I was working at the theater when that movie came out, and they advertised that damn thing like it was a Dirty Harry movie.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, they really did.
As well.
So you were expecting, you know, like your typical Clint Eastwood, you know, like The Gauntlet or a Dirty Harry type movie. And the first scene of that movie, you know, here he is in like the process, you know, and it's like, what the hell is this? You know, and I mean, yeah, it's a good movie. I really enjoy it. But yeah, like I said, every time I think about Tightrope, I think about that first time watching it with my parents. It's like, oh my God.
I mean, like you said, Jim, the cover, the red and black cover, it looked like a Dirty Harry movie from the cover.
Yeah, the same font. You know, because it was all Warner Brothers, you know, they had the same, you know, but yeah, like I said, they advertised that thing like a Dirty Harry movie, and it's like, that movie is not a Dirty Harry movie.
Far from it.
Yeah. Never seen Dirty Dancing, never could bring myself to do it. Yeah, good for you, Roy. Don't count yourself lucky. I mean, Patrick Swayze, rest in peace. Love Patrick Swayze. Absolutely love him. That movie's a piece of shit. So, okay, Dirty Dancing is great. I had the time of my life. Yeah. Yeah, see, this is what I get. This is what I get every time. It never ends. Barry, I've never seen Grease all the way through. Grease is a great movie. It's just one of those movies that I've seen so many times, I'll never watch it again. You know, I don't own it, but I could recite that damn movie. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Corey's here.
I wasn't a fan of the second one, though. I wasn't a fan of the second one.
No, we were talking about that on one of my shows, too. Somebody in the comments went, Grease is better than Grease 2, and in my opinion, I'm like, you know, I think Grease 2 is worse than everybody's opinion. That movie's bad. Hello, Corey. Thank you so much for being here, buddy. From Wilkie's Movies. Sammy saying hello. Let's see here. Grease, bloody awful. Okay, right. Me and the missus have done Dirty Dancing in the bed. Okay, keep it clean there, Barry. You suck. Oh, Stuart's here. Stuart just saying hello, watch and repeat. I'm out with the wife, etc. That's great, though. Thank you so much for popping in, Stuart, and thank you for watching the replay, buddy. I did hear about It's All a Dream sequence theory by the character who went in the water. What's that? Did I miss something? I did hear about It's All in the Dream sequence theory by the character who went. Yeah, I don't know, Barry. I must have missed you on that one. Sorry.
Yeah, it must be part of a comment.
And then we've got Yam's physical knowledge. Watch it, guys. Thank you so much for being here, Yam.
Cheers, Yam.
Carlos has some same dodgy internet that I have. Bogart was in Dead End with the Bowery Boys. Stuart, you spoil that woman. Okay, now this is a good comment here from Gary. I tried watching the Three Stooges in color, and I could not do it. I hate it when they colorize black and white movies.
Yeah.
I remember seeing when they first started doing that shit in the 80s. I remember it was a Spencer Tracy movie. I don't even remember what movie it was. It might have been Adam's Rib or something. And he looked green. And the whole time I'm like, he looks green. What the fuck am I watching? I mean, it was just, I hate that shit. I absolutely hate it.
You know what, Jim? I introduced the Lauren Hardy movies to my nephews.
Mm-hmm.
And when I put it in black and white, at first it didn't grab their attention. So they sort of said it in a way, oh, why are these movies not in color? So I had it put on the color, and the color was so bad. It's like that really blurred, dull color. And I was like, put it on. I turned it back on. I said, no, I can't watch it like shit like this. And now they've come to love the Laurel and Hardy movies, and they appreciate it. It looks more funnier, more unique in black and white. But that idea was just a bad idea for movies.
Show you how stupid of a kid I was when I was about, because my mom still brings this up every once in a while. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, they were watching some movie from when they were kids, and it was in black and white. I don't remember what it was. And I actually said, Mom, when you were a little kid, was everything in black and white? And she goes, what do you mean? And I said, like everything. Were you in black and white? And she just started laughing. She was like, to this day, she brings that shit up every once in a while. Yeah, we had color back then. Okay, let's see what we got here. Mike says, I will turn you onto film noir this year, Carlos. If you like Cagney, you'll love film noir. You guys haven't seen the one movie that will get you. Yeah, I like film noir. I'm just not a huge fan of it. And I mean, again, there's examples of every double indemnity with Fred McMurray. I mean, that movie's a classic. I mean, it is so good. Him and Barbara Stanwyck, and that's definitely a film noir movie. They damaged Eddie Murphy's career, Vin Diesel, and The Rock's career. Yeah, all these kids movies and stuff.
Yeah,
I miss Bruce Willis in his prime. I miss Bruce Willis. Period. What's happening to him? It's a shame. It really is.
Yeah, I like Bruce.
Just about everybody likes Bruce. I mean, he was just one of those guys. Willis was great in comedy and action. Yeah, see, everybody's loving Bruce. Roy's got a soft spot for the Fast and the Furious. Like I said, I saw the first one when it first came out.
It's a good movie.
It was a big hit, and I remember not hating it, but I was like, I just didn't understand what the big deal about it was, and then when the sequel came out, I saw the trailer from it, and I was like, okay, it looks like the same exact movie, so I never bothered, and I've never watched any of them.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy damaged his own career when he got picking up a trans dude by his house. That was way back when. The Smashing Machine might be a good turnaround for The Rock. It looks like a different type of role for him. I'm not familiar with that. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, actually I am. He plays a boxer or something in that. Yeah, I actually did hear something about that. Hobbs and Shaw, no, I haven't seen it. Asian films will keep you guessing till the end. Yeah. You were talking about Korean movies earlier.
Yeah.
The one that came out of nowhere for me was Train to Busan. My God, that movie. I mean, again, I generally don't like running zombie movies or stuff like that, or whatever. But that movie, the characters in that movie hooked me in so quickly. And the ending of that movie destroyed me. I mean, every time I watch it, it brings tears to my eyes. And I can't recall any other horror movie that's ever done that for me.
Yeah.
I mean, none, that movie's so good. I love it so much. The Substance is a blast. Yeah, like I said, I'm getting that on the 21st, day one. I will be watching that immediately. I heard The Brood and The Scanners are both getting restoration. Yeah. Shit. I know that the company, it's down in Australia. It's not Imprint, but it's the other one. But yeah, they're doing
Umbrella.
4Ks. They're doing 4Ks of both of those. They want Titanic money, hit an audience and get a load of excess money. Yeah. And again, Titanic's another one of those movies that's beloved, and I never want to see it again. Scott, the movie critics here. Hello, guys. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for being here. Great to see you doing your first live stream, Jim. Just wanted to stop by and say the stream goes well. Have a fantastic. Thank you so much, Scott. I really appreciate that. Don't Look Now. Yeah, Don't Look Now is. That one is. Have you ever seen Don't Look Now with Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie?
Do you know what? That was always a horror movie that always skipped me by. And 2 years ago, I grabbed a copy of that, hoping it's got because it's always a horror movie that's in like the top 50, top 20 best horror movies. And I built myself up thinking this is going to be a great movie with Donald Sutherland, who's a fine actor. I thought it was really overrated. I really, really did. It didn't do much for me, honestly.
Yeah, it's very divisive. Very divisive film.
Yeah,
And,
it just didn't.
and I believe that one's a little overrated as well. I'll give you that. I like it. I don't love it, but I do. To me, it's not a horror movie. It's all about grief, and loss.
Yeah,
And from
yeah,
that standpoint, if you want to watch a movie about depression, from that standpoint, it works because
yeah,
the two of them are fantastic in it. But
yeah,
like you, yeah, that's one of those movies that was hyped up very much before I actually saw it, and I own it, and I do enjoy it, but it's not one that I go back to a lot.
I got rid of my copy.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see here. People saying hello to each other. Daniel says, I used to go to a ton. We had some great art house theaters that would import a ton from overseas, things like Peter Greenway films and Kung Fu Hustle. Yeah, some of those. I mean, there was a place in Chicago called the Music Box that used to do that. They would run a movie that nobody else would. And that's how I saw Reanimator back in the day in 1985. Yeah. That was released unrated here in the States. You had to be 18. And I turned 18 the week before it came out and drove all the way to Chicago to see it. And yeah, that movie, I love that movie so much.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun, that one. That movie surprised me. I mean, if you want a good example of a comedy horror, that does it perfectly well.
Absolutely. It the blend of both is perfect in that movie.
Yeah.
It really is. I know people that don't like that movie, because it's over the top. I love it because it's over the top. Yeah. I mean, it is just you will never see a crazier movie than that. I mean, it's so crazy. Okay, now this question is going to be for you because I'm not familiar with either of these. Also, which film do you prefer out of Green Street or The Football Factory? Take care, guys. I'm assuming both of those movies are about English football or soccer.
Kind of soccer hooligans.
Oh, Green Street Hooligans.
Yeah, which was a real problem in quite a few decades over here. I'd say The Football Factory, just by a smidge, with Danny Dyer. They're both kind of pretty hard-edged movies. If they're worth checking out if you kind of like British movies. But they're not big blockbuster movies. We had sort of like an era where the British gangster movies, then it kind of went on to football sort of factory movies, fighting and riots and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say The Football Factory. Too.
I know you Brits take your football seriously.
Well, we won't get into that, whether it's called soccer or football.
Well, see, that's what I was going to say, okay? Yeah. Because I know American football is starting to make inroads to Europe, okay? But it's obviously it's obviously not nowhere as big as, European football or soccer as we call it here in the States. And they've been trying to push soccer here in the States since I was a child. I mean, from the time I was a kid, it's always been, soccer's the game of the world, and it's this and that and the other. And soccer has made strides here in America, but it's still, I mean, baseball is the American pastime. Football is America's passion. I mean, football rules everything. The NFL rules everything in this country, as far as sports go. And I was wondering, because soccer movies over here in the States, I mean, they're available, obviously. But honestly, the only two soccer movies I can ever think of actually seeing in my lifetime is Bend 'Em Like Beckham and Victory, or Escape to Victory, as it's known in Europe. Because Pele was in that movie, and I remember seeing that on cable when I was a kid, and I love that movie. It's cheesy, but I love that movie. Now, there are a lot of American football movies, and I'm just wondering how that translates over to Europe. I mean, I know you're a fan of The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, I mean,
but how about some of these other movies, like On Any Given Sunday, or movies along those lines?
Quite a few of them I have watched. The good, we mentioned The Rock, The Gridiron Gang. The only thing is with American football for me, we have a sport over here, rugby, which is it's a little bit it's a little bit similar to American football. I mean, how I sort of separate it. American football, you can't win a game. I mean, I hope I'm making sense to the American audience. American football, because I tried to watch it for a couple of seasons and I enjoyed it. And for me, the American football, if someone's got a bad defense, then they're likely to not win that game.
Right.
But then in rugby, it's more offensive. It's about scoring more points. The game's a lot more looser. The defense is a lot more sort of looser. So it's more of a scoring sort of game. That's the way I kind of separate. I like them both. But you know, the American football, I kind of get how they're sort of like relying on their defenses. You know, they built their walls, you know, from preventing the other team from scoring. You don't get that with rugby because it's more open. There's more open spaces and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, American football. I think the only thing is over here in the UK for American football is the length of the game. But then when you break it down in the quarters, it spaces it out, so it's not so bad.
Yeah, I mean, the most complaints that I've heard from my European friends as far as American football goes is that there's too many timeouts, you know, for stoppages in play for TV and this and that and the other. And I agree with that shit. I mean, that drives me crazy as well. But soccer, to me, I've always had a trouble with soccer as far as like it's rigidly timed. It's a 60-minute match or a 2-hour match or whatever.
Yeah.
But then they'll go into overtime for whatever reason, even if one team is behind, and it's like, okay, that makes no sense to me. Or they'll do the overtime and then they'll end with a draw. And it's like, but nobody won. That from a fundamental, you know, it goes against everything in my brain as far as sports logic goes, you know. But I understand, you know, the love of the game. And when I was a kid, you know, in high school gym and stuff, you know, we'd play soccer and this and that and the other, you know. But I just, even when the World Cup's on, I cannot watch it. I'll watch the highlights, you know, when they show the, you know, this and that and the other. And I've got all the respect in the world for the athletes, you know, that are out there doing their thing. I couldn't run around out there for 2 hours. I mean, there's no way, you know, but I watched that and my brain just, you know, it just doesn't work. So, okay, let's get back to some movies here.
I'll say one thing though, Jim, on a movie aspect, if you're having a movie about soccer or you're having a movie about American football, I think the American football is a lot more physical. There's going to be a lot more action scenes. So I'd rather see that in a storyline, like those movies that we've mentioned, you know, The Longest Yard, which is a great one with Burt Reynolds.
Yep. I think I broke his fucking neck. I love that movie so much. Roy says he's seen 2 films theatrically in 2025, one more than 2024. Yeah, again, between the prices and just the lack of variety, you know, I haven't seen the Salem's Lot remake. Again, it's not for everybody. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. Did you see the Rob Lowe starring remake of Salem's Lot 1999? Maybe. Yeah, with Rutger Hauer.
I passed on that one.
Oh, it's god awful. It's god awful. I did not like that at all. Okay, Ricky wants to know. Question for Carlos. Out of the 5 Dirty Harry films, which one is your favorite?
Oh, it's got to be the first one.
Yeah.
I mean,
the first two are the best in my opinion. It's hard to.
I'd say the second one's probably the most violent out of the 5, but Sudden Impact is pretty underrated for me. You know, the story and the theme behind it. But I've got to say Deadpool's got to be the worst. I mean, I enjoy it, but it just looked like they run out of ideas and that. And
yeah, but you do get to have Jim Carrey doing his Axl Rose impression in that movie. So. I just, you know, as good as Liam Neeson is early on in his career, I don't think his character really suited him in that movie. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work for me.
Okay, Daniel says, just purchased John Wick. Haven't watched it yet. Did watch some of the fight scenes. Yeah, John Wick 4 is good, but like I said, it was just exhausting to watch theatrically. I mean, it really was. Jim, you need to watch the movies. Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Roy. The Beguiled is an uncomfortable Clint movie. Yeah, The Beguiled is another one like Tightrope. It's an outlier. It is great. You know, I will say that about Clint. For being such a stoic, tough guy, he's got a kinky side to him, man. When he goes there in movies, you know, between The Beguiled, Tightrope, Play Misty for Me, you know, he's got kind of a kinky side to him.
Yeah. I mean, in his career, Eastwood did have quite a few affairs with some of the co-stars in those movies in the 70s. So, you know, maybe that was a part of Eastwood in real life, like he was in The Beguiled, because, you know, he was playing a lot of women off in that one.
Yeah, he was.
And
I've always wondered about the Sandra Locke connection because she's not a very good looking woman.
Yeah.
But we won't go there.
I mean, the women that he's had and how he was kind of infatuated with her for a certain period of time. It was a bit of an odd choice because, I mean, you know, a lot of these Hollywood stars, they can just click their fingers and get any woman they want, literally.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, Okay, Daniel, in the movie Grease, this is what he was talking about, the water thing. In the movie Grease, before John rescues Olivia, the theory postulates she drowned and the entire movie is a dream by her. I have never heard that before, but that is an interesting theory. I've never heard that before, and I've seen Grease a million times.
I haven't seen it for a while.
Roy says, the problem is narrow-minded folk refuse to watch black and white. Yeah. You know, I was like that as a kid. If it was a black and white movie and it wasn't like a science fiction horror movie from the 50s or an Abbott and Costello movie or the Three Stooges, something like that, I wasn't interested, you know. And then when I got older, I realized, hey, you're an idiot. Some of the best movies in the world are from that era, you know. So.
The ideas and the origins.
Yeah. Let's see here. If I could recommend an underrated noir, I would say Too Late for Tears. Okay. I will write that down. Too Late for Tears. Thank you, Roy. Daniel says Train to Busan was great. Yeah, I absolutely love that movie. Okay, here's a good one from Ricky. Hey, guys, is there a film soundtrack that you're a big fan of? And don't say Dirty Dancing, you bastard.
Well, another one that I really hate, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah. Everything
that theme song.
I do it for you.
Oh, that song was the #1 song in the charts here in the UK for about 10 weeks. And I cheered when it got booted off. only for 2-3 weeks later, it got back to #1 again.
Yeah.
It was that popular. I mean, movie soundtracks, obviously, I like the Dollar Trilogy movies. I like the soundtracks of the movies in the 80s. I mean, you would remember this, that a lot of the movies in the 80s, Beverly Hills Cop, Top Gun, you know, you'd have like a theme that not only would kind of push the box office appeal by having a hit single.
Absolutely.
And that would make the movie, I mean, over here in the UK, we would have heard of the theme song before the movie came out. So that kind of enhances the box office over here. So, you know, in the 80s, those movies that I mentioned, Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop, there were big influences on some of the big movies in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
We don't quite get that so much now, you know, a movie soundtrack that we want to get.
Right.
But it was a big part of the 80s for sure.
Well, that was a lot to do with MTV as well, because MTV would, you know, have somebody record a song for a soundtrack and then they would just put little clips from the movie.
Yeah, that's it.
In between footage of the band. And now you got a video. Not only do you have a music video, but now you have a commercial for the movie as well. You know, it was all marketing. But my answer to your question, Ricky, if you're going with original scores, you know, he mentioned the Dollars Trilogy. To me, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly score is like the greatest original score of all time. But here's one that a lot of people don't talk about, except for like geeks like me. The original score from Conan the Barbarian, to me, is one of the greatest original scores ever. It just, if that music doesn't get you going, you're dead. I mean, it's so good.
Literally.
It's so good. And as far as like soundtracks go with like pop songs or rock songs, the one that immediately pops into mind is The Lost Boys. Yeah. I wore that. I had the cassette tape of that. And I wore that sucker out. And I mean, I listened to that constantly for about 2 years. So thank you, Ricky. Great question.
Beverly Hills Cop was the one for me. I wore that tape out.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
Doing the neutron dance. Daniel says The Long Good Friday has a great soundtrack. Good Friday is a great movie. I mean, I haven't seen that movie in years, but Bob Hoskins is just, he's terrifying in that movie. I
rewatched that early last year.
Yeah, it's so good. Don't Look Now is a seminal film. Venice itself is almost a character. Yeah, like I said, I mean, if you go into that movie looking for like a frightening horror movie, you're going to be disappointed. If you go into it looking at a slow burn, I don't even want to say thriller, just an exercise in grief and loss, then absolutely Don't Look Now is a masterpiece. And that, as far as that's concerned. Daniel, nice. I also got to see Mad Max back then when it came out in the local theaters. Mad Max, the original one here in America, it got a very limited release. And then they released it on cable before it hit video. And the first time I saw it, Mel Gibson had an American accent because they dubbed it in American. Even though it was in, Australia, which is English, they dubbed it into the worst American accent I have ever heard. I mean, oh my God. I've got a Blu-ray and it's actually got that dub on it as like a bonus feature. And it's painful to listen to. The cartoon antics had us laughing a ton. Super early theater released by Roger Corman's studio as the importer. Yep, absolutely. And Roger Corman did. Yes.
Just remembered, but then Mel Gibson, it turned round in the movie When We Were Soldiers. He tried to play an American in that one, didn't he?
Yeah.
It didn't quite.
I love that movie though. That movie is great. It really is. Sam Elliott is so good in that movie. And Barry, it's called football, not bloody soccer. Yes, I understand. But it's called soccer here in the States, my friend.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. You can't change.
It's not a disparaging term,
Yeah.
The Firm with Gary Oldman is the best football hooligan. Now, I have heard of that one. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. And Gary Oldman's great. I'll watch him in anything. Don't forget The Last Boy Scout, which isn't very good. Yeah, The Last Boy Scout, though, even though that's kind of about football, it really isn't. That's just a buddy movie. Bruce Willis.
I enjoyed that one.
I like that one, too.
I remember watching that on the big screen. Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
Roy says, rugby was started about 10 minutes walk from my house. Wow, that's cool. That's the other thing. I would love to go to Europe, but the UK in particular, just to see the history involved. I mean, you see a building here in the States that's a couple of 100 years old and people go, wow, I can't believe it's still standing. And it's like, are you kidding me? That's a new house in some areas of Europe. I mean, some of these buildings have been around for thousands of years. And it's like, I would love just once, from a geek point of view, just to walk around and see some of, I mean, I'm not into architecture and shit like that, but I am into history, and you guys are so lucky as far as that goes. I mean, you did that video recently. Well, not real recently, but it was a while back, but where you went to Sad Hill Cemetery.
I need to put that video out. It's not released on the channel.
Right. You haven't pulled it, but you showed me.
Yeah.
You showed me.
Yeah, that was an exclusive to you. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I don't mean if I screwed that up or not. But I got to
cool.
admit, I saw that footage and I wept because it was just like that. I mean, just seeing something like that is just like, it's so incredible to me. I mean, the closest thing that I have to that is in a month I'm going to drive a couple of towns over to shoot a video of the locations that they used for Groundhog Day.
Mm.
Okay, that's 30 years. That's nothing. You know,
Yeah,
it's nothing. You know. All right, I'm off topic here. Let's see here. Football is a bad subject for Carlos and I at the moment. Okay, I'm assuming you two are for
yes,
rival teams.
similar team that we support.
Gotcha. Jeff is here. Hi, Jim and Carlos.
Hi there, Jeff.
I can't stay, sadly, since I'm at work, but wanted to come show my support, and I'll definitely watch this back later on. Thank you so much, Jeff. And again, like I told Dan earlier, going to get you on here. We're going to work out the details. I want to get all three of you guys on here at some point. Barry, love all the Dirty Harry movies. Yeah, me too. Even Deadpool. You know, I don't love the Deadpool, but I do enjoy it. Jamie Norwood, hi. How are you today? Hello, Jamie. Thank you for coming.
Yes, for tuning in.
Ricky says that marriage to Sandra Locke ended very bitterly, as I remember. As a teen, though, I loved the two of them in The Gauntlet. I don't think they were ever married. But yeah, I know that they definitely had a pretty bad falling out at the end of it. But yeah, The Gauntlet is actually one of my favorite Clint Eastwood movies. I don't own it presently, but that's a top 10 Clint movie for me. I love that movie.
That's the best one. The best rapport that they've got on screen together, even though she was in The Outlaw Josie Wales, which is a significantly much smaller part, but The Gauntlet, the banter that they had in that, she's actually quite decent in that movie.
Yeah, she is. And that also has one of my favorite lines in any Clint movie. That's my chopper, Charlie. Well, this is my gun, Clyde. It's so good.
Oh, he's got memorable movie lines in most of his movies.
Yep. Okay, this comment's going to set Carlos off. I read somewhere that The Gauntlet is being remade. And who is going to be the star of that, Carlos?
Do you know something? He's put that to us once in a live stream. And when I heard, I hadn't heard of it, I thought it was a prank. And when he said it was Tom Cruise, I was like, "What the fuck? Tom Cruise playing Ben Shockley, the Clint Eastwood character? That ain't gonna work. That don't work for me." You know,
you'd like that.
Yeah, it's an easy switch, that one.
Yeah. Okay,
and he's done
Hyatt. Jeff Hyatt is here. Hello, Jeff. Movie Rebecca, 1940. Great Expectations, 1946. In the Heat of the Night movie. Yeah, all three of those are great movies.
Yeah, I know those ones.
Especially In the Heat of the Night. I really enjoy that with Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger. Yeah, that movie's great. I almost said The Lost Boy. Yeah, that Lost Boy soundtrack is great. Mike says, Blu-ray movies, great recommendations with Too Late for Tears. I'll also say Jim or Carlos must see 99 River Street or Kansas City Confidential. Big fan of John Payne Westerns and film noirs. Awesome. I will write down. I've seen Kansas City Confidential, but I've never seen 99 River Street.
I haven't seen both of those.
Yeah, Kansas City Confidential is a very good movie. Ricky's got Top Gun, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and Heavy Metal are a few that I rotate through. I forgot the Heavy Metal soundtrack. How could I possibly have forgotten? Yeah, that's one of the few soundtracks I actually have on CD right now in my collection. I love that soundtrack so much, and I actually really enjoy the movie as well. Come to the UK, Jim, and we'll take you to HMV and Weatherspoons. You know, every time you guys do those trips, I get so jealous. Because unless you're in the big cities here in the States, you don't see that. You just don't.
Yeah.
And even like the local Walmarts and stuff in my area don't even sell physical media that much anymore. It's like what came out that week, and then complete series of TV shows from like the 70s and 80s that nobody wants. You know, I mean, they've got 3 racks filled with that and nothing else, and it pisses me off. Let's see here. Ricky says Tom Cruise will play Reacher in The Gauntlet and piss off fans everywhere.
he's doing it tonight. The funny thing is, I actually didn't mind Jack Reacher, even though what's Tom Cruise? 5'4", and
he's like
the
5'5", something like that. He's pretty short.
Yeah, I actually didn't mind Jack Reacher. It was okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the TV show is actually pretty good on Prime Video, and that guy looks like the character from the book.
Oh, we was talking about it the other night, weren't we?
Yeah, that guy, he's pretty big, you know. I mean, I buy him in that character. Let's put it that way. Okay, let me get back to some of my questions that I got for you here. Now, this is something that has really interested me, and I'm going to go to the horse's mouth now because we're around the same age. So you probably were going through this firsthand, but in the 80s here in the States, there was a lot of satanic panic going on, and a lot of this, music and movies are destroying the youth of America. So that's when they came up with the PG-13 rating. That's when an organization called the PMRC, Parents Music Resource Center, came out and started putting stickers on albums and having congressional hearings on whether or not Judas Priest was going to make you kill yourself and shit like that. Okay. But over in the UK, around that same time, they had the video nasties.
Okay, yeah.
And being a movie geek, okay, I was always interested because here in the States, we're still a puritanical country by most part. If it's got sex in it, we freak out. If there's a lot of foul language in it, people say, "Oh no," but we got no problem with violence. Okay, I mean, even the critics that bitch about the violent movies, American audiences eat that shit up, and it always have. Okay, and I found it interesting that in the 80s, I was, again, working at the theater. I was working at a video store at the time when I was reading these stories about over in the UK about these video nasties, where there was a certain list of movies that for whatever reason you couldn't get legally.
Yeah.
And that blows my mind. And I'm just wondering, how did that involve you? If for instance, if that happened here and the government said, here's 10 movies we do not want you to see.
Yeah.
That would make me want to see those movies more. And I would basically go out of my way to find a way to see those movies. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if that's the way it was in Britain at the time.
Yeah. Those movies, I mean, you're perfectly correct. Movies like The Evil Dead, I Spit on Your Grave. I mean, I was at school. I mean, I would have been about 12, 13. And when I heard about, movies like that, when you're at that sort of age, you want to see, well, how bad can it be? And they had this kind of video nasties banned list. Yeah, I Spit on Your Grave, The Evil Dead, The Burning, Cannibal Holocaust, all these movies. They had like a list of these movies. So the video independent stores over there, we didn't get the chain video stores. That kind of came in the late 1980s to the 90s. They kind of sizzled out the independent stores. Mm-hmm. So the independent stores at that time, they would keep the video nasties under the counter. So they would put them on the shelves. So if there's the banned list, they would take them off the shelves. And you would sort of maybe, if you was an adult, I mean, I was quite grown up for 12 or 13. I kind of looked more 17, 18 at the time because I was already 5'11", 6 foot. And most of the adults will go in these independent video stores and sort of whisper to the owner behind the counter, and they'd sort of pass a VHS tape in a brown paper bag. And that would have been a movie like I Spit on Your Grave, Evil Dead, Zombies, Flesh Eaters. So I didn't kind of cotton on to that. I was like, shit, what the hell? Was it like a drug deal going down or what?
That's what I was thinking.
And you had various movies like like The Omen, the Amityville Horror. They were on the shelves. But those movie titles that I said, they pulled them off. And then I think it might have been a year or a certain amount of time, maybe 6 months. Then the movies would return on the shelves and you was able to pick them up. I mean, what they used to do, they used to have a bit of a porno section in kind of like one of the other rooms away from the main counter. So we knew those movies were there. So, as a 12, 13-year-old, we'd sort of pick them up from the top shelf and have a look. If there was an adult coming down the hallway, we'd put it back. or sort of hide them in one of the shelves in sort of like, sort of in one of the lower sort of shelving areas. But yeah, I mean, the horror movies, they always used to be put sort of at the top of the shelves, mainly for adults, because they didn't want sort of school kids going in there and picking them off the shelf. I mean, something like Cannibal Holocaust, The Bogeyman, which is a fantastic movie cover, with the priest with the cross and the blood.
Yeah.
I mean, those movie titles used to grab my attention straight away, because even though my video family membership was on my dad's name, I used to take the card in there, and the first sort of movies I was looking on the shelves were the gory covers, or an action star with a machine gun with bullets all over it. There were the titles that were pulling me in. You've got to bear in mind at that time there was no internet. These movies were kind of like word of mouth. Maybe you heard somebody from around the block, around your neighborhood saying, Scarface, what a movie that was, and you'd be like, oh, what's this movie Scarface? And then just on hearsay, you'd go in the video store and sort of ask the guy behind the counter, can I rent Scarface? Or you saw that on the new releases on the shelves, on the front sort of counter, and you'd hire the movie. I mean, those days were, memories, like watching movies on hearsay without knowing anything about the movie, which is totally the opposite today, where you'd watch a trailer, and through watching a 3-minute trailer, you know what's going to happen in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that puts me off.
Absolutely. Yeah, see, what was weird about that time here in America was if you were under 17, you couldn't go see an R-rated movie theatrically without a parent.
Okay.
Or, an older sibling or whatever. And they would card you. If you looked under 17, they would ask for ID. Okay. But yet you could go to a video store and rent anything that wasn't pornography, regardless of the rating. I never got checked for an ID in a video store. Never. Never, so it's like, okay, last year I couldn't see this movie theatrically, but now I can go ahead and rent it myself, and I always thought that was kind of strange how they did that, Blockbuster, I think when they came into business, I think they might have tightened that up a little bit, but the mom and pop stores back in the day, they didn't give a shit. And yeah, I was exactly the same way with you. I'd walk into a video store and go to the horror section and look for whatever one had the gnarliest looking cover that appeared to be in English. And then I'd be like, okay, I'm in, and sometimes that would work out. Sometimes not so much,
I'll tell you what though, Jim, because I was a little bit underage considerably, there were certain movie titles. I mean, some of the video stores there, they would let you take the movies with the actual covers. Some video stores, they put them in a separate cover.
Yeah,
and
that's the way
the ones they gave you with the original cover, if the movies were a little bit naughty or a little bit horrific, I used to kind of put them under the sweatshirt without the folks knowing what I was watching and shit. But I mean, my dad didn't really care because, he would watch those sort of movies anyway. He'd be like, shit, what are you watching? And he'd watch it. But on my mother's side, she would say something. But then, that kind of brings back to an old memory of a very uncomfortable watch for me was watching Deliverance, because I watched that with my father. And obviously the scene with Ned Beatty.
Yeah.
Damn, I was like, what the hell's going on here? I didn't cotton on what was going on. And I was watching that with my father, and he kind of looked at me, and I was like turning away. And my dad knew what was going to happen because he was actually already laughing and smiling. And even to this day, if I'm around this place and there's a pig on TV, he would do the squeal sound just to remind me of that scene in Deliverance. I kid you not. I ain't forgotten. I have not forgotten that scene. I mean, even if Ned Beatty's in the film, my dad would say, "Oh, he was in that film. Squeal, squeal."
He's still got a pretty mouth.
He ain't gonna let me forget that horrific scene when I watch that movie. This is a great movie.
Oh yeah, not for the faint of heart though.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I've never met your father. I want to have a beer with that man. I
Yeah.
think we'd get along just fine.
Yeah.
Roy, I enjoyed both Cruise Reacher movies. Yeah, I saw the first one. I haven't seen the second one.
Yeah, I need to watch the second one.
Ricky, same here on the Reacher films. I liked it, but apparently fans of the author Lee Child hate it. Same thing happened with American Assassin. American Assassin, I really liked that movie with Michael Keaton and what's the kid's name? Dylan O'Brien, I think is his name.
I don't think I've seen that one.
That was supposed to be the first in a series of novels, and the movie didn't really do all that well, but it's really entertaining. I think I included that one on one of my forgotten movies way back when. But yeah, that movie's super. Yeah, Ricky, the role Michael Keaton plays in that movie. Yeah, Michael Keaton is phenomenal in that movie. Sean says, "Oh, there you go." Sean says, "America, show a head cut off, fine. Show a boob, nope." That's about right. You know? Now, if the boob's being cut off, it's fine, I guess. But yeah. Roy says the 2 Cruise films are my only Reacher experience, so it makes sense. Yeah, I've never read the novels either. Debbie Does Dallas was in many a brown bag. In the UK, when we were kids, if you had a note from your mom, you were good to get cigarettes, beer, or whatever from the shop. Yeah. My dad used to give me $1 when I was like 8 years old to go down to the little store down the street from us to get his cigarettes for 65 cents, and I could keep the change. And I couldn't have been more than 8 or 9, but the owner of the store was my Little League Baseball manager. So he knew me, and he knew I wasn't like smoking Pall Mall Reds unfiltered, as an 8-year-old. So it was all good. Ricky says, "Don't say nothing, just do it. Take them off all the way." Deliverance. Daniel says it reminded me of the movie The Amateur. Yes, actually, that's a good call. I forgot all about that movie, The Amateur. John Savage in that movie. Really good. Now, are there, we've talked about some of these classic actors and such, like Eastwood and Bronson and stuff, and Denzel, but are there any like newer, younger actors or actresses that have caught your eye recently? A lot of people are hyping up this Timothée Chalamet kid. He seems to be a fine actor. I don't know if all the hype is there, but is there anybody like in the last?
Do you know, Jim? For me, I could sort of relate this to sports, because when they use the word great too soon, when you get to a certain sports star and he's become champion or a boxing champion, he's been a champion for a year, he's a great fighter. Oh, that's a great actor. That's a great movie. For me, great has got to be something with a sustained career. Someone like Denzel Washington, that's a great actor. That's a great career. A series of movies, Lethal Weapon, they're a great series of movies. The Godfather movies, they're a great series of movies. We tend to get like one good movie in the trilogy, or maybe one or two in 5. So for me, to say, what's the next? Who's going to be the next big thing as an actor and actress? I don't know. It's a difficult one for me to say, because I don't see enough modern day kind of movies. I get you.
Year
in, year out. It's a pretty tough call for me. There's certain actors like, for instance, as an action star, I really thought The Rock was going to bring action movies back. Vin Diesel, but Vin Diesel kind of fell apart, stayed in the same sort of series of movies. The Rock, no, I had visions that The Rock was going to be like the new Arnie, but not for me. I don't think we've got those breed of sort of action stars, actors and actresses. Even good-looking actresses. We ain't got a Raquel Welch. We haven't got a Sophia Loren. We haven't got, Jane Mansfield or Marilyn Monroe. They're all fake. They're all built up. It's not, it's natural beauty, naturally talented actors. I don't think it's there in abundance for me. So
yeah, I
tough.
get what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Totally understand what you're saying. What do you think the future of physical media might be in the next 5-10 years? Do you think it's still going to be going strong, or do you think it's slowly starting to get phased out?
I think it's going strong. I think we've got it for the next 5 years for sure. I mean, that live stream that we did, with Dan's Movie Cave, 101 Bronson, with Rock God 2004 and Mondo Chelovic. I mean, we had a 3-hour live stream when we were talking about the great movie labels, boutique labels, the studio labels, and all those great additions. And people saying that it's kind of dying out, but you're getting. I mean, for instance, The Keep on Vinegar Syndrome. I mean, sold out. It sold out. I mean, you could probably do another batch of those movies and still sell.
Yeah.
So I don't. I mean, for the next 5 years, I think we've still got it. I mean, it's sad that stores in the US and in the UK. We used to get movies here in the UK in like a supermarket. You can get Blu-ray and DVDs. We haven't got that now.
Yeah.
We've just literally got HMV and CX, which is kind of like a store that you take your PS5 games and sort of sell them on, and you get them second hand. So I think if we still got those, then maybe they can come back as retro, like vinyl has become really popular here in the UK. I didn't think it would I didn't think it would come back, and what they're selling, price wise for a vinyl album is like, damn. I mean, it's literally more than it's literally more than a 4K. I mean, a 4K over here, we can get a new release 4K is $24.99. Now, for an album, you're talking cheapest $29.99 or $39.99.
Wow.
And if it's a special edition, anniversary edition, then you're looking at maybe 50. But then sometimes they do 2 for 50 or 3 for 60 or deals like that. But vinyl is really catching on here. I mean, the teenagers think it's cool, even though people are buying, people still listen to their music on Spotify. And I think with the streaming services, with them pulling the movies off and not showing the full versions, I think people are going to come back to that, where we want to see the original cut of the movie. I mean, I know I do.
Yeah, me
someone
too.
says to me, "Oh, there's an edition here. You just bought it on physical media, and it's like the cut version." We don't want that. We want the real thing. So I think with the new generation, I think that might sort of come back when the streaming services start going down and the quality of movies are not there. People are going to resort back to the classics.
Yeah, I think the boutique labels are doing a really good job of keeping interest alive in physical media, because I find myself, gravitating more to those titles than I do more to the mass market ones. That might be quality of movie as well, though.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Stephen Moles is here. Hello, Stephen.
Says, hi, Stephen.
Have you seen The Horde from 2016? It's Rambo meets The Hills Have Eyes meets Wrong Turn, starring Paul Logan, Vernon Wells, Bill Moseley, and Costas Mandylor. No, I have not seen that.
No, I haven't seen that one.
But that sounds interesting.
Sounds like an Australian movie. If it's Vernon Wells, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that actually does sound kind of fun, if nothing else. Charlize Theron was great in Atomic Blonde. Yeah, Atomic Blonde's a fun movie, and I love Charlize Theron. She's beautiful. She's great. Not crazy about boutique stores increasing the prices on physical media. Everything. I end up buying most of my stuff on eBay at this point, where I can bid on stuff, because it just, or if a boutique has a certain sale or whatever, like Scream Factory will do a Shocktober sale every once in a while. Kino does sales constantly. I don't buy anything from Kino on day one, no matter how much I want it, because I know within the next 3 months it'll be on sale. Let's see here. I was hoping for a director's cut of The Keep. Yeah, me too. Unfortunately, I don't think any of the extra footage exists anymore. I think that was destroyed years ago. Not to mention Michael Mann is like totally distanced himself from that movie. He
hates that movie, doesn't he?
Big time, big time. The main threat, I think, to physical media will be the availability of new players in the future. Yeah, that's the other thing. That's the thing that gets me is how instead of new releases, new movies getting released, a lot of these boutique labels now, especially Scream Factory, all they're doing is re-releasing their existing content from Blu-ray into 4K, and it just drives me crazy. It just drives. I don't have 4K. I mean, that's my own personal choice, just because I know me. If I get a 4K player, I'm going to start buying 4K and starting over again, and I don't want to do that shit anymore.
Yeah,
I'm happy with Blu-ray. But yeah, I know as soon as I say screw it and I go to 4K, they'll come up with something new, 8K or some, whatever, and I'll have to start all over again. And it's like, nah, screw that shit.
Yeah.
I'm done with that.
I will stall on 4K. I mean, I won't turn into a 4K snob and say, right, I'm having all my movies in 4K. For me, 4K, well, I think it's worth it. If you've got a favorite movie and you want to see them in the best quality, then go down that route. But I wouldn't be buying 4K for a movie that I don't really watch that often, or I don't like that often, because you're just throwing good money away. I mean, some of these channels that are buying everything in 4K and then a month or two later they're getting rid of them. It's like, why are you buying the movie?
Right. Yeah. That's what gets me with a lot of the channels that I watch too, where, every week it's a new haul and it's a stack of shit, this high. And it's like, okay, what kind of job do you have to where you can just buy that unless you're getting, payola from the movie companies? And if that's the case, hey, more power to you. Good for you. But it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to buy something that I don't like, or I'm not going to, if I already own a movie that I'm happy with and they come out with a new transfer or whatever, but I'm still happy with that original, hey, I'm going to stick with that original. I'd rather buy something different and have a different movie on my shelf. I don't need, The Thing is my favorite horror movie ever. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't need 5 versions of it. The version I've got is fine. I love it.
I got 3.
Yeah. So, but again, the only movie that I have more than one version of is They Live. And it's because I have 2 different steelbooks from it. The Blu-ray and the 4K Scream Factory steelbooks. And it was mainly because I got the 4K one on sale for like $15. And I was like, and I loved the artwork so much. I was like, okay, screw it. I'm going to get it. That's the only time I've ever done that. I don't buy duplicates. I don't. If I do buy a second copy of something, I get rid of the original one. Yeah. I give it to a family member or whatever.
That's what I normally do. But I mean, I ain't going to tell you how many copies I've got of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, because I find it very hard. I find it hard to let it go. And I mean, counting, I think I've got about 9. And, I actually wish I kept some of the VHS ones that I had, because they're worth shitloads of money now.
But that's the exception, not the rule, though. I mean, you're not the type of guy that has 5 different versions of every movie like some of these other guys do. You know what I mean? And it's like, and what really cracks me up is when they say, this movie was released with 3 different slip covers, so I bought all 3 of them. But you know what? I don't even like this movie. So what the fuck did you buy it 3 times for?
I can't do that.
I just
for me, I'd rather buy more movies. That's what I would do.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Okay, Barry was looking for the director's cut, and so was Sean of The Keep. Yeah. You know what? If they would have came out with like an extended version of The Keep, I probably would have bought it. Just because I like The Keep for what it is, but it's not I don't love it so much that I had to go out and buy it. I mean, I can't stand cut versions of movies. Yeah.
Oh.
I see a lot of younger people going back to DVDs because of streaming being so volatile. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My stepson, William, he used to buy movies digitally through his cable company. And I kept telling him, Bill, when you change cable providers, you lost that movie, oh, that's okay. I want it, and it's like, Jesus Christ, man. The Horde was only released on DVD here in the UK and the US, but you can get it on German media, Blu-ray, DVD. Okay, maybe that's why I never heard of it. But yeah, I'm going to look into that. That sounds
The
interesting.
Horde.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
pretty
that one.
sure. I'm pretty sure I've watched a French movie called The Horde. Whether it's that.
Yeah, he says it's kind of like Rambo meets The Hills Have Eyes. So, like I said, that alone sounds interesting to me.
It could be that. If it's a French movie, I've seen that one.
Barry says, some of these channels get it for free. They buy crap just for a video or the bloody slipcover or box. I don't watch those channels. Yeah, I'm finding myself watching fewer and fewer of those channels, Barry.
Yeah.
You know, me and you have talked about this before, Carlos. You can tell immediately who's a collector and who's a movie lover. They're different, you know?
Yeah.
I'm a collector. I'm not a completionist. If there's something that I know I'm not going to like, I'm not going to buy it just because it looks good on a shelf.
I mean, me and my buddy, Dan's Movie Cave, we have this conversation all the time. Movie collector or movie fan. You know, you got to be a movie fan to be a collector. Not be a collector, then come movie fan. That don't work.
Right. Let's see. Ricky says, bottom line is that if I want to own it, same with books and music. And all the streaming is great, and I do that also. But when the shit hits the fan again, like the pandemic, I got it right here. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect example there.
Yep. And actually, the pandemic's what got me involved in YouTube in the first place, because I never watched YouTube in my life until the lockdown. Roy says, Carlos, Jim, thanks for the entertainment. I will watch the rest tomorrow. Fantastic inaugural stream. And Carlos, you've done us proud. Thank you so much, Roy. Thank you so much. Roy. And yeah, we're gonna be setting you up pretty soon, buddy, to get you on here as well.
Yeah, Roy's a great guy in the community.
Yeah, he really is. Ricky says also, I'm not held hostage by Netflix, Amazon, or Apple. Every time they want to remove something for whatever reason, go ahead. I'll still have it, and I can watch or listen to it anytime I want. Yep, absolutely.
I mean, the only good thing I say about the streaming services, because my brother's got the streaming services, the TV shows, the TV series.
Yeah.
When I've gone around there, I mean, I love. It's tempting. It really is tempting to get Netflix or Paramount, because the TV series that you've got, the quality of TV shows is unreal. But the Netflix movies and the Paramount movies, I'm not really interested. The quality is not very good.
No.
I mean, with the exception, get the odd one where they had the Irishman, which had no cinema release, which really should have. I was scrambling, for anyone who had Netflix just to watch that movie.
Yeah. I was glad that Criterion released that on Blu-ray, because that's how I originally saw it, because we didn't have Netflix back then. And I was pissed about it, because it's like, it's a Scorsese movie. I got to see it. I mean,
yeah.
And so, I blind bought that one on Criterion Blu-ray. And I like that movie a lot. I don't love it. The de-aging kind of throws me off in that movie. But, other than that, I do like it. I think it's a solid movie.
Yeah. Apart from the odd one or two scenes, obviously when, the scene with De Niro and the shopkeeper, which it looks a bit obvious, but you kind of got to turn a blind eye on that one. Yeah.
Daniel says The Keep has a great music score too. Yeah, absolutely. Tangerine Dream. Yep. Tangerine Dream did another film about 3 aliens in an underground lab. 2 kids free them. In the end is very similar to Starman's ending. Trying to think. I don't remember that one at all.
No, not me.
No, I'm having like a Clerks flashback, working at the video store, where it's, you got that movie that had that guy that was in that thing. Steven, there was also a zombie movie called The Horde, but it was awful. Now that one I've heard of, the zombie movie.
Probably that one.
Yeah. And I think that's the French film. Yeah. There was a French film called The Horde. It's in a tower block, I think.
That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of that. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. Barry says, I have never bought a digital film and never will. Yeah, the only digital copies I have are ones that come with the Blu-rays. And I did download most of those. I gave a couple of those away on my channel, actually. Steven, I watched a good TV series on Tubi the other night, which was good, called The Last Chapter, starring Michael Ironside. It's a bit like Sons of Anarchy. I will watch anything with Michael Ironside. I love that guy. You know, I saw Scanners theatrically when I was just shy of turning 14. And
Wow.
I've been a huge Michael Ironside fan ever since. He's so good in
Yeah.
that movie. I love that movie so much.
I had a rewatch of that about a year ago, and I forgot he was in it because I hadn't watched that since I was a teen. And it was weird seeing him in that because he's got obviously a lot more hair in that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the beginning of that movie, that headshot is just an all-timer. It is just so good. And for years, I mean, I'm a geek, so I used to subscribe to Fangoria magazine, which was the horror movie magazine that would show you how they actually did the special effects and this and that and the other. And I had that, the first Fangoria I ever had that cover of Scanners, mid-head explosion. And I saw that, I got that magazine like 6 months before I ever saw the movie. And that image just burned into my brain. And I just assumed that it would be like the ending of the movie. And then me and my sister go see that movie, and it's the first, 10 minutes. It's like, holy shit, I mean,
I remember that.
It's just so good. Ricky says, I agree. The series are king on the streamers. I do wish they would sell physical copies of them. I'm a big fan of the Terminal List, Slough House, too many to name, really. Yeah, some of the streamers are starting to release some of the content.
Yeah.
But Netflix is like really, really, I think the Criterion thing with Scorsese was about the only movie that they have released. And as far as their TV shows, I think Stranger Things is probably the only thing that they've released.
Yeah.
Because I know Squid Game doesn't have a physical release.
Yeah, I mean, some of them TV series, if there's something that I enjoyed on Netflix and it's not available in physical media, I would hunt them down as bootlegs.
Yeah.
I'll go that route. Just to say that I've got them. Series like The Punisher, which I enjoyed. There's a few others out there that I need to grab hold of. The Godfather of Harlem, that's one that I've grabbed as a bootleg because I just wanted to own it and see it because I don't have those streaming services. So that's a route that I go, but not too often.
Yeah, I've owned 2 bootlegs in my entire collection, and both of them were one was Netflix, the other one was Hulu. Because the Netflix movie was The Night Comes For Us, which is a martial arts movie. Fantastic, bloody, disgustingly violent movie. It's so good. And then on the recent haul that I just did yesterday, I got a bootleg version of Hellraiser, the reboot from Hulu. And again, I saw that on Hulu and I enjoyed it for what it was, but no physical release. So I was like, okay, fine. I want it. I've got the Arrow box set of the original 3 movies. I don't own any of the other pieces of shit sequels, but that movie's good enough that I wanted a physical copy of it. So yeah, thank you, Hong Kong. It worked. So, let's see what else we got here. Steven says Visiting Hours starring Michael Ironside is one of my favorites. Yeah, that's a good slasher movie with Lee Grant. Practical effects still rule. Absolutely.
Jim, I just got to pop out. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
No problem, Carlos. Do your thing. Okay, so hey, you guys are stuck with me for a couple of minutes. But yeah, I remember Visiting Hours. So I was part of a dual set, something about advertising brainwashing with Lee Majors. I remember an advertising brainwasher movie called Looker, but that wasn't Lee Majors. That was Albert Finney. I don't know if that's the same movie you're talking about, Daniel, or not. Alex is here. Hey, how's it going, buddy? Streamers just want to screw you, not once, but many times. Yeah. We've got Netflix, we've got HBO Max, and Hulu, and I think that's it. Let's see what else we got here. Alex Wilson. Alex, so good to hear from you, my friend. I'm really sorry to hear about your problems, your physical problems that you were experiencing, but I hope that you're on the road to recovery. And again, just excellent hearing from you, my friend. I was really becoming concerned because I hadn't heard from you in a while. So thank you so much for coming, and best wishes for your speedy recovery, friend. Can't say enough great things about you. Sean, the movie that Barrett was talking about with the aliens in Tana Dream is called Wavelength with Robert Carradine and Sherry Curry, 1983. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks, Sean. See, Sean's the man. He knows these things. I never heard of it. Never heard of it at all. Let's see what else we got here. Daniel says, yep, he agrees. That is the name of the title. Awesome. Don't think it's ever been released on DVD. Yeah, like I said, I've never heard of that one, man. Barry, Night Comes for Us is great. Joe Taslim. Yeah, Barry, that movie. I was telling Sean and Kenny about that on our underrated action episode that we did, and neither one of them had seen it. And all I'll say about that movie is, if you like the Raid movies, you will love Night Comes for Us, because it is just unbelievably gnarly. It is so much fun. Steven, I watched Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 last night. What a piece of shit that was. Yeah, it's only half of a movie. The rest of it is like flashbacks of the first one. I think there's like maybe 45 minutes of real footage in that movie. I mean, it is. It's basically just a, greatest hits recap from the first one. Okay, and it looks like Carlos is back.
Yeah,
there he is. Hey, all right, good. Everything okay?
Yep.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, I was just going through some of the comments here, and Steven was talking about how he watched Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 last night. What a piece of shit that was. And I was like, yeah, that movie is like half of a movie. The rest of it is just flashbacks from the original one.
I love the first movie.
Punish. I love Linnea Quigley. I do like Looker. No, the Lee Majors movie was kind of, we already established that was called Livestream or whatever. And Alex, great to see you too live. Yeah. Again, Alex, so good to hear from you, my friend. Alex is one of my subscribers. He left comments on when I was doing the 50 years of film. Alex was one of the guys that would leave like 10 comments on every video. Because he would be sitting there at work, and they would be watching the video and going through the movies along with me, and they even had a chart of which movies were their favorite. I mean, he was like sending me updates during that whole time, and I just thought it was like the coolest thing ever, So yeah, it's so great to hear from you, Alex. And last comment right now is Steven. Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3, 4, and 5 are even worse. I never watched any of those other ones.
I saw the first two.
Yeah. The second one, like I said, with all the flashbacks, it left such a bad taste in my mouth. I stopped at that point. Yeah. Okay. Get back to my grilling interview questions to you, my friend.
Go on then.
Here's a good one for you. You're on a desert island that has electricity and a TV and a Blu-ray player. You're allowed to have 3 movies, and only 3 movies. They don't have to be your favorite movies or the best movies. Just 3 movies that are going to keep you from going insane on this desert island. What are those movies?
It's got to be The Good, Bad, the Ugly, Goodfellas, and probably Gladiator. Yeah, I'd have to have an epic movie, making real lengthy movies, because that's all I got. So I got to make it last.
Don't want no hour and 10 movie.
Yeah, I mean, a horror movie, 90 minutes ain't gonna cut it.
Yeah, 2 out of those 3 I would also have Good, Bad, and the Ugly and Goodfellas for sure. My third would be The Thing, because if I'm on a desert island, I want to feel some cool. So I gotta have at least one movie set in the cold. Okay, here's the one for you, and I think I might know where you might go with this, but you might surprise me. Name a film that just about everybody loves, that you don't necessarily have to hate it, but you just think it's overrated as hell.
I'm going to say one that comes to me. I'm going to say a cult movie and a major movie. A cult movie would be Zombies, Flesh Eaters.
Okay.
I get it why people like it, but I was just so disappointed when I watched that movie, because the cover drew me in. and it's not a patch on Romero's Dawn of the Dead for me. Blockbuster movie, there'd be quite a few. I'll say a lot of the Star Wars movies, the ones that they made after the first three. I mean,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, The Force Awakens. People said that they love it. It's just a rehash.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And when people were coming out the cinema, they were saying, Han Solo, he died. You know, was you shocked? Was you amazed? I was like, no, because at that time, you know, with TV series, you'd have a main character getting killed. So by doing that, you're not shocked anymore. You know, movies that do shock value don't sort of cut it so much now. It's hard to be surprised. So, I mean, I kind of knew he was going to get killed in that within 20, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, solid. Now, the flip side of that, how about a couple of films that most people can't stand, think they are the worst pieces of shit known to mankind, and you like them?
I mean, a lot of the spaghetti Western movies, I mean, a lot of people say that they're kind of just cheap Westerns. A fair few of those.
You know, like a guilty pleasure movie.
A guilty pleasure movie. Oh, God. Some of the Police Academy movies, you know, they're not great sort of comedy movies, but the first couple that are quite sort of fun.
I love the first one.
You know, a lot of the Carry On movies over here in Britain, they were cheaply made. But if the British population hadn't watched those movies when they were on TV, when they look at them now, they would sort of say, "Oh, they're really funny movies." Yeah, I mean, Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder, Hear No Evil, Hear No Evil. It's not as good as Stir Crazy, but I really dig that one.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, Another 48 Hours is another one. I mean, people say they hate on that movie. Okay, it's not as good as the first one, but I still enjoy that movie.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
Something different there.
Yeah, we'll agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah.
Although I will say I would rather watch another 48 Hours than Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah. How did that go, by the way? You said that you were going to watch that the other night.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I enjoy all the Beverly Hills Cop movies. Okay, the third one, you know, a lot of people would say the theme park didn't really suit it, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as good as the first two by far, but yeah.
Okay, let's see what we got here in the comments. Ricky says, a deserted island. I'm taking all survival type movies. I'm going to need some pointers in staying alive. It's a good point.
Maybe First Blood would be the ideal movie.
Yeah. Today I watched Friday the 13th Part 5. Ethel's death always makes me laugh when her face goes in the stew.
Do you know the funny thing is on that, Jim?
What's that?
The first two times I watched the fifth one, I really hated it. But now rewatching it, I actually don't mind it because it's quite funny.
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's scuzzy. I mean, that movie is scuzzy, but man, it's entertaining. I mean, the Scooby-Doo ending is kind of weak, you know, but other than that, it's a Friday the 13th movie. I mean, it's entertaining. Yeah. Let's see here. The Big Lebowski. Oh, I'm assuming that's one that he doesn't like, that everybody does like. I like The Big Lebowski. Laughing at Steven's comment. Ricky says, I'll take Top Gun. I'll be the only person on the island, and I'll be throwing out all the quotes. I have to say, Archer quoting Top Gun did get me quoting Top Gun more than the original movie. Archer's a pretty funny animated show. I don't know if you've ever seen that or not. It's a spoof of he's like a James Bond wannabe type guy, but it's pretty funny. Alien 3 is a film that I love that is hated. Yeah, actually, I think that one is extremely underrated.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I don't
mind Alien 3.
And Alex says, loved but overrated any version of it. I could see where people would think that the original miniseries might be overrated, you know, because it's a TV miniseries. But to a certain segment of the generation of that generation, it was like Salem's Lot for us, man. I mean, that movie scared the shit out of people when they were kids, you know. So and Tim Curry's great, you know. I love Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Let's see. I
was actually disappointed. I was actually disappointed with the miniseries because I was going through that period when I watched a lot of the horror movies as a mid-teen, and I heard a lot about the It series. I was really disappointed. So when I watched the It kind of reboot, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, chapter 1
is far better.
Yeah, chapter 1 is fantastic.
Yeah.
Chapter 2 is okay, but chapter 1 is fantastic. And Alex says, a guilty pleasure. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Yeah, I didn't like that movie at all.
I didn't get on with them. No.
Yeah, I did not like those movies at all. To me, they were kind of like Scream ripoffs. Okay, we're coming up on 2 hours, but I do have a couple more questions for you. Is there any actor or actress, past or present, that you just can't stand? That they show up on screen and you're like, nope, I just can't watch this because this guy or woman just ruins it for me?
Female actress, I'd say Sandra Bullock. I don't see. She don't do a lot for me. I don't get.
I hope Kenny's not on.
Yeah, I just
Kenny's
don't.
In love with her.
I find her kind of annoying. I mean, Speed and Demolition Man, she kind of brings the film down for me. Actors, Steven Seagal. I mean, that guy definitely had his head up his own ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of his early movies were pretty good, but you know, his career nosedived pretty dramatically.
Yeah. Under Siege is a great movie. I love Under Siege. Mainly because
I enjoyed that. Mark for
Tommy
Death,
Lee Jones and Crazy Gary Busey make that movie. I mean, you know, that movie's just it's a lot of fun. Let's see here. Barry says Jared Leto. Yeah, Jared Leto is quite capable of giving good performances, but yeah, there's movies where he's in it that it's just like, what the hell? Yeah. I did really like him in Requiem for a Dream. I thought all 4 leads were fantastic in that movie, but man, that's a hard watch. That's like watching a train wreck. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie or not. I don't think I've seen it. It's about drug addiction. I'm familiar with the title. Yeah, it's about drug addiction, and it's a hard watch, man. I mean, it's a real. I haven't seen it yet. But it's a very well made movie, but it's not something that I would like recommend easily. You know, I mean, no going in. It's like watching a car wreck. Yeah. You know. Steven says Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation is awful. The worst from the series. That's the one with McConaughey in it, I think. And if that is, then yes, you're right. That movie is horrible.
Yeah, I stopped after the second one.
Yeah, I knew this was coming as soon as you mentioned Steven Seagal. Barry Seagal, how dare you, Carlos?
You know what? I mean, I loved it. Yeah, do you know what? Movies like Mark for Death, I enjoyed. I thought he was really good. You know, Out for Justice, I enjoyed those movies. But damn, I mean, his career, I mean, he had a pretty good sort of decade of action movies, but wow, I mean, how he dropped in stock. I mean, some of the movies he's done in the last 20 years. I mean, I don't think he's made a movie for about 5 years.
Yeah. And if he has, they're like direct to video or direct to streaming type shit. He's like one of Putin's buddies now or something like that.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, whatever. Yeah. I always thought the guy was a piece of shit, but that's just me. Alex says, reference It. Book was the best. Ruined any film. Yeah, the novel It is fantastic with the exception of one particular scene, which I won't go into. It's problematic at best. But it's a great book. George Clooney, can't stand his films. Loved Clooney in From Dusk Till Dawn, Barry. You can talk about all you want. He's awesome in From Dusk Till Dawn. I love that movie. Daniel agrees about Requiem for a Dream. Yeah, it's a tough watch. Sean says Michael Cera is an actor that annoys him. Again, love Superbad. I thought Michael Cera was hilarious in Superbad with Jonah Hill. But yeah, he's not somebody I gravitate towards either. Steven says Steven Seagal's films later were trash, especially when they started dubbing his voice. See, I didn't know they dubbed his voice. It's been so long since I've seen
Seagal. I didn't see a lot of his later ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last Steven Seagal movie I probably watched was either Under Siege 2 or the one that he did with Michael Caine up in Alaska. On Frozen Ground or Deadly Ground, yeah.
I didn't mind that one. I watched a few later. They were really bad.
Yeah, no. Like, I was never a huge Seagal fan, so.
Yeah.
Why do you think, or why film do you think has the best soundtrack? For me, the two favorites are the Kickboxer soundtrack and the Wrestler soundtrack. I used to listen to both religiously when I was doing bodybuilding. Yeah, we covered that earlier in the conversation, Yam. I'm a big fan of the Lost Boys soundtrack and the score from the Conan the Barbarian, and Carlos is a huge fan of the Dollars trilogy soundtracks. Let's see here.
I've got to say Rocky IV, because that guy, if you said he was a bodybuilder, that was one that in my bodybuilding days, I would play that soundtrack to death.
Yeah. Rocky IV, a.k.a. Montage, the movie. I'm sorry.
Man, I had that permanently in my ears.
It's just Montage, the movie, I'm telling you. Alex, Crazy Gary Busey, absolutely. I can't mention, it's a nervous tick. I cannot mention Gary Busey without saying Crazy Gary Busey. It is. Seagal's later films are hilarious. Yeah. And the best Steven Seagal films are Above the Law up to Half Past Dead. Yeah, I remember Above the Law. I mean, I did. I saw his first, 5 or 6 movies or whatever, but I was just never, believe it or not, I was actually more of a Van Damme fan than Seagal back then. And Van Damme's movies were pretty damn cheesy as well. I mean, that's another guy whose career kind of fell off of a cliff, but those movies are still fun, like Kickboxer and Bloodsport and Double Impact even, I mean, I could watch those movies and get a laugh out of them.
I always have Van Damme, Seagal, and Chuck Norris as like a group, and I always preferred Chuck.
Yeah, me too.
Because Chuck was just more legitimate. I mean, man, geeky looking he was. Damn, could he kick some major butt? Yeah.
Chuck was like, he was like the American Bruce Lee over here when they first started off with him. I mean, that's how they pushed him so much. And I mean, I was like really young when they started pushing out stuff like A Force of One and The Octagon and Force Vengeance and Lone Wolf and McQuaid. I mean, I saw all those movies, back in the day, theatrically. Okay, we're going to be wrapping this up, but I want to get some more comments here real quickly. Yeah, must admit, Rocky IV, listening to that gives me extra boost when working out, especially No Easy Way Out to give me those extra few reps. It's those extra few reps that get the muscles to grow. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you two, you're better people than me. I get enough workout. Just they keep me busy enough. Hider in the House starring Crazy Gary Busey is a good film. Needs a Blu-ray release. Yeah, that one is pretty good. It's entertaining as hell. And Sean says JVD is a pretty good. Actually, it's JCVD, but it is a good Van Damme movie. That movie's a lot of fun. But anyways, we're over 2 hours now. We're at 2 hours and 5 minutes, so I think we're going to be wrapping this up pretty soon. But Carlos, before I thank you and say goodbye to everybody, I want to give you another chance to give your channel and your other exploits on YouTube some love here. So please, the floor is yours. Give yourself a shout out and let us know what's coming up on your channel and on the other channels.
I've got to try and stay more regular with the content on my own channel. At the same time, our Talking Movies live streams, we're doing them on every month, the last Monday of the month, as well as our Westerns for Life podcast episodes. I mean, those, the Westerns for Life podcast and the Talking Movies live streams, they're on the playlist. It's up to the channel. You'll get community posts when they're coming up. And And another announcement, Jim actually is going to be on our next Talking Movies live stream at the end of January, where we're going to be talking about the career of Denzel Washington.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Spending time with you and Dan and Jeff. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, great one.
Awesome. So anyways, I want to remind everybody that's still here in the chat, please, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to Carlos's channel. He's at Eastwood for Life Fan 334 here on YouTube. And on his channel, you can also find the links to the other channels that he's involved with Dan and Jeff. And finish up a couple comments real quickly here. Ricky says, soundtrack for Vision Quest. Yeah, that Vision Quest soundtrack was phenomenal back in the day. Don't know if you ever saw Vision Quest. That's a coming-of-age movie. Matthew Modine plays a high school wrestler. No. Really, really solid movie. Very good movie if you ever get a chance to track that one down.
Matthew Modine playing a wrestler?
High school wrestler.
Really?
Yeah. This was.
So he wasn't that big.
Yeah, he's a kid in this movie. He's like this is a good 3 or 4 years at least before Full Metal Jacket. I mean, he's a kid, Daniel says, thank you, Jim and Carlos. Very good show. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. Cheers for
Steven,
tuning
see
in.
you guys.
Everybody.
Thank you, Steven, as well. Barry, thank you, Barry. I really appreciate your support as always. And Alex, as I said earlier, it was great hearing from you, my friend. I hope the road to recovery continues for you, my friend. And we'll be talking soon, hopefully on my channel as well in the comments. But before I wrap this thing up, I do want to make a couple of announcements. The next scheduled episode of Talking Shit with Jim in 2 weeks. The next special guest on that will be Dan from Mr. Dan and Horror. He will be joining us, basically doing the same thing that me and Carlos are doing here. But I think going forward, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to alternate these shows. I'm going to do one with a European guest, and then the next one will be with an American guest, and back and forth. So we can get a little bit of flavor going on here. So after Dan is on there, I'm going to be reaching out to some of my European friends like Dan from Dan's Movie Cave or Roy from Blue Roy Movies. Or you know who you are. Yeah. I will be reaching out to you, and we will schedule to where it would be convenient for you to come on, and hopefully we can continue this thing going. I want to thank everybody in the chat who stopped by to ask questions and to leave comments. Your support is always appreciated. Most of all, I want to thank my good friend Carlos here. This was a blast. This was
cheers for having us, Jim.
Long time coming. I've been wanting to do this forever. So, and I'm really looking forward to being on the chat with you and Dan and Jeff. And we'll be talking soon. And I would love to have you on here again sometime in the future. And this was just bigger and better than I could have possibly imagined. So thank you so much, Carlos. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, my friend.
All right, great. One last thing I want to mention, actually two last things I want to mention. The first thing, the next installment of Talking Movies with Sean, Kenny, and Jim will be this coming Tuesday night, the 14th. We're going to do our end of the year review part 2 because we unfortunately needed to cancel the last episode on New Year's Eve due to personal issues. So we will be doing that show where we will be recapping our favorite 5 films of the year, as well as our 5 favorite first-time watches during the year. So hopefully you will all join us for that. That will be Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, so 6 p.m. Central Time. You can catch that on the Talking Movies 2024 channel or Sean's channel at Movie Assault. The last thing I also want to mention to everybody who is affected with the tragic fires that are going out on the West Coast right now, hearts and prayers go out to all of you. Hopefully things will work out for you in the best. It's a horrible, horrible way to start 2024. And again, anybody who is affected by this, my deepest sympathy for you and best wishes. And hopefully things will improve for you relatively quickly. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and we're going to end this. Sorry, I didn't comment. I was in the Morrisons for a while. No, thank you so much, Yam Yam, for all of your comments and questions.
Yeah, cheers, Yam Yam.
Sean, thank you so much for your comments. And let's see here. Gary the Blu-ray addict. Hi, gents. Have a great stream,
Oh,
which
Gary.
is now over. We'll catch it on today. Thank you so much,
Check it out on
Gary.
the playback, Gary. He's a nice guy.
It will be on my channel for rewatches. And one more time, I just want to thank all of you for being here. Carlos, thank you so much. And I think we're going to call it here. We're at 2 hours and 10 minutes, which went by pretty damn quickly, in my opinion. So this was a great time. We'll be catching everybody on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Cheers for having us.
Okay.